Hi, welcome to our series on Azure Arc enabled SQL Server. I am Rodrigo Monteiro, Global Black Belt Solution Engineers at Microsoft, working together with my colleague Sam Missel. In this session, we will dive into SQL Server licensing, including Azure Arc pay-as-you-go option, software assurance benefits, and high availability disaster recovery considerations. We will also clarify what qualifies as a passive node, a critical concept in HADR designs. You will learn what makes a node passive, what tasks are permanent, and when a passive node becomes active and requires licensing. This understanding is essential for compliance and cost optimization in hybrid environments. So, why license matters? License isn't just about compliance, it impacts cost efficiency, scalability, and flexibility. Choosing the right model ensures you optimize resources and avoid unnecessary expenses. Let's look on the license models. SQL Server offers three main options: core based licensing. Licenses are sold per physical or virtual cores. Idea for high performance workloads or environments where counting users is impractical. Minimum 4 core license per physical processor. Server plus call. Client access licenses. Licenses the server and purchase calls for each user or device. Best for smaller environments with predictable user counts. And the new model with the Arc, pay as you go, also referenced as PAYGO, available through Azure Arc enabled SQL Server, hourly billing via Azure Arc subscription, no upfront cost, perfect for short-term projects, dynamic workloads, or customer without soft insurance. Enables advanced Arc features like automated backups, point-in-time restore, and best practice assessment. Now, let's take a look of all the SQL Server license options and compare them. Let's just add one extra information here that is very important. Soft Assurance. Soft Assurance is a Microsoft license benefit that provides additional rights, features beyond the base license. It adds on to that organization purchase to unlock flexibility and a few capabilities. The key benefits of the Soft Assurance are unlimited virtualization when you talk about enterprise editions, run unlimited SQL Server instances on a licensed host, passive failover rates, one passive node per active node at no extra cost. A license mobility, move licenses between on-premises and cloud without having to rebuy the license. Advanced HADR features support always-on availability group and failover cluster with one additional replica without cost. Access to Arc features. When combined with Azure Arc, SA enable a bunch of features that we saw in the past sessions. Now, let's take a look on this comparison table. So, license model. When you look at the license model spec, you will see that core-based is, by physical virtual cores. As we said it before, server plus cal is per server per user device, a cal. Core base plus SA, same as core base. Server plus cal plus SA, same as the server's cal. And big as you go, our billing via Azure Arc. So you can imagine the benefits of being able to, pay your license by hour instead of a full year cost. So when you go to the upfront cost, core base, yes, you gotta pay upfront the licenses or the software assurance. Server call, the same, you gotta pay upfront. Core base plus SA, yes, you gotta pay them both. If you buy and just the SA if you already purchased the license in previous years. The same for the server call plus SA and PayGo, no, it's all consumption based. Minimum requirements. 4 core for processor. For core base, one server plus cows. For the server plus cow, core base plus SA, the same as core base. The server plus cow plus SA, same. as Server plus Cal, and pay-as-you-go, none. That is no limits, unless that we're going to talk later, you are doing what we call the physical core licensing model into Arc, where you will be licensing the host and then hosting as many VMs with as many cores as you want. Virtual rights. The core base is limit per VM. The server plus Cal is limit, is whatever you have in terms of the servers plus the users. The core base doesn't say. In case of the enterprise edition, it's if you do a physical core, it becomes unlimited, like how we're going to see on the Azure Arc 2 in the Pago. The server plus Cal is limit, is the number of servers plus the number of cows you have. And the Pago, when you're just doing one by one, is per VM. HADR passive nodes. The core base, you require the license. So you need SA in order to have the nodes to be running. So you have the right for one passive node for HA and one passive node for DR when you have SA on top of your core base. The server cow, you will have the same benefit if you do have SA. And the Azure Arc, if you're doing via Pago, it's also included in the Arc policy. The same way, you will have one passive node for HA and another passive node for disaster recovery. Advanced HA features. Like we said, all of the ones without SA, you do not get the benefits of those features. And Arc brings already embedded in the Pago license option. Mobility, license mobility. When you are just buying the license without SA, you see that there is no benefit of mobility. So once you change the server that the license install, you need to purchase a new license. When you do buy Pago, it doesn't make a lot of sense because you're paying by hour. So that mobility it is not available because you just reactivating and paying based on the usage on that server running. Arc integration. When you have core base in SQL Server, you just have the basics capabilities, so that is not full integrated. When you have core base plus SA and server plus call plus SA, yes, you got again a lot of benefits from the integration with Arc. And when you're doing Pago, you have all the features available in Arc. Automated backups, so it is part of the Arc integration. Again, as long as you have a say or using the Pago feature for the license mode with the Azure Arc, you get that ability to do policy-based automated backups with point-in-time restore options. Best practice assessment, the same thing. Those are only available when you have SA or if you're doing pay-as-you-go via Azure Arc. The billing flexibility, core-based with and without SA is fixed. So is the amount of cores and the amount of servers that you bought. And the Pago is our consumption. So this simplifies and shows you all of the comparison between the license options that you have for SQL Server. Now, before we dive into the Azure portal, just see how we can enable pay-as-you-go licensing with Azure Arc for both vCore and pCore options. Let's first understand what a passive node is in the context of high availability and disaster recovery under software assurance. A passive node is part of the HADR strategy, but does not actively process client workloads under normal conditions. It only becomes active during failover or maintenance. What defines a passive node? Here's what defines a passive node. No active query processing or user connections. No reporting and analytics on top of it. Backup and management tasks are permitted. Used exclusively for failover readiness, no databases with read and write permissions on the passive node. Under the soft assurance, one passive node is available for a high availability and another one for disaster recovery. Arc enable pay-as-you-go automatically detects the conditions for a passive node, and if the conditions are not followed, will generate billing for that specific node. Now, let's see one of the most common cases of errors for a passive node. First, we start with a primary SQL Server node. This is our active node, handling all read and write workloads. At this point, the availability group is not yet configured. Next, we enable the availability group, called myAG, and add databases to it. Now we introduce the second node. It configures as a passive node, read failover, but under normal conditions, it does not process client workloads. Here are the rules. A passive node can perform backup and management tasks, but it cannot handle queries, reporting, or any database with read-write permissions. Doing so will active and require license. Now we'll see one of cases where it will make this passive node an active node and will make it required a license for it. When you do have an extra databases, in this case, outside of the availability group, it will be with the write and read permissions. This will disqualify this secondary node as a passive, and once pay-as-you-go is active, we'll generate billing. Now, let's jump to the Azure portal and see how can we enable pay-as-you-go for SQL Server with Azure Arc. In the Azure portal, open Azure Arc. If you use recently, it most likely be pinned on your shortcuts. Otherwise, you can type Arc on the top search bar and go to the Arc portal. In the Arc portal, on the left menu, you will see Data Services and SQL Server instances. After that, select the machine that you want to enable pay-as-you-go. You will see in the middle, right, you will see SQL Server configuration and license type. Just click on license with soft assurance or license only, depending on what was configured before. This will take you to the configuration of the SQL Server on that machine. In the license type, you will have the option for pay-as-you-go. That one will be enabling on the vCore level for this specific VM, the pay-as-you-go for your SQL Server. You just click it, save it, and this will enable pay-as-you-go for your SQL Server machine running on premises with Azure Arc. Now, let's enable pCore billing for a host that runs multiple SQL VMs. A physical core license resource can be scoped at different levels: a single resource group, a single subscription, or even a full tenant. Depending on the scope, you select the VM with SQL Server that will consume the license will be grouped accordingly. So now let's go back to the Azure Arc portal. Under licenses on the left side menu, you will have SQL Server licenses. This is going to open all the licenses that we have for SQL Server. You can then go create. You just add a resource group where the license will be saved. Then you give a name for the license. It's always good to give, since we're going to be grouping machines, something that will make sense for you. You will select the region where the metadata will be stored. Then you hit next. Now you're going to be selecting the scope type that we just mentioned. It can be a single resource group, a single subscription, or a single tenant. Then the billing plan. We have two ways. It can either be paid, that is when you're using your own license. But for the purpose of this demo, we're going to be clicking pay as you go since we are focused on the pay as you go. The physical core numbers represents the number of cores available for consumption of the licenses. One of the things that is important to notice is there is a minimum of 16 core for the physical server licenses. The other thing that is important to know is every single SQL Server physical core licenses are based on Enterprise Edition. So you add the number of cores that you want, and then you hit next. After that, you're going to get on a screen where we will talk about the option activation those licenses. You can activate right away, or you can leave it to activate it later. The difference here is once you activate it, the meter for the license is going to start to incur. You hit next. You can add tags, and then you go next, review, and you do the creation of your license. Now, after creating the pCore license, we need to make sure that the Arc-enabled SQL instances in the scope have use physical core license equal to a yes. Let me show you how we do this. So back to the Arc portal, data services, SQL Server instance, select one of the instances, and back to the SQL Server configuration and click on License with Self-Assurance, pay as you go as a type, and here in the bottom, you will have physical core license. Specify if this virtual machine is using a SQL Server physical core license resource that exists and it is active for tenant, subscription, or resource group. So we just click it and save it. But make sure that first that the SQL Server instance is inside the selected resource group or tenant or subscription. Otherwise, it will be activated using vCore licenses. Changing the SQL Server license type isn't limited to the Azure portal. You can also automate this process. The options are changing license type in the Azure portal using the UI. And this one, you need to do resources by resources, or automate license changes using Azure CLI or PowerShell, ideal for bulk updates or DevOps pipelines. It supports PayGo license type, license only, and license plus SA. Also, you can go to our GitHub, aka.ms/SQL Server samples. And for Azure resources, you can go to Manage, Azure Hybrid Benefits, Modify License. You will find the scripts necessary to make the change. Or for the Arc, you can go Manage, Azure Arc Enable SQL Server, Modify License Type. Thank you.